Chassis prep. This is a Micro ATX chassis. It supports smaller system boards than an ATX chassis. You will need a box opener or knife and a Phillips head screwdriver. Turn the chassis box upside down and cut the tape to open the box. Turn the chassis back over onto its feet to remove the bag. Looking at the rear of the chassis, there are openings or cutouts. Turning the chassis shows the backside panel. Turning the chassis again shows the front panel with its plastic pop-outs for devices, USB, LED, and power button. Turning the chassis again shows the other front side panel. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 4 screws holding the side panels. Set these aside for later. Remove both panels carefully by sliding them until stop and lifting them out. Caution: the exposed metal of the chassis cutout openings have sharp edges. Looking inside the chassis, we find 2 cables, a multicolored ribbon cable, and the rear fan. A USB cable, an audio cable, and the system board power LED wiring are attached to the front panel. The rear fan will plug into a header or pins on the system board when we install it. There is also a bag with screws and sometimes other items we will use to install our parts with. Remove this and set it aside for later. If the Micro ATX chassis came with a power supply already installed, a power cord would also be inside the chassis. Here are the hard disk drive bays, the optical drive bays, and the smaller device drive bays we need to access. To remove the front panel, there is an opening on the bottom of the plastic by the USB and audio ports. Place one hand on top of the chassis for support, and the other hand pull out on the front panel from the bottom. Grasp the top of the front panel, wiggle the front panel off its post, and gently bring out the cables through their access holes. Set this aside for later. Here are the drive bays we will be installing our devices into. Notice these all have screw hole locations on both sides to secure our devices. The rear metal cutouts are for the system board, I/O shield, and the power supply. There are also metal knockouts for access to PCI Express and PCI ports if needed. We are now ready to install our components to build a complete computer system.